Boys and girls, moms and dads, welcome to episode 13 of Pin to Pin, the Volleyball Podcast. The lucky number 13, Danger Will. You ready for this?
I am.
My name is Ryan Tolman. I'm your host. My co-host here to my right is Danger Will Robinson. Our producer behind the screen over there, Noah Cotterman.
We're back again.
The unlucky number 13. Here we go. Let's do it. All right. Will says we're back. If you know dates and things, it's because
today is 11-16. Our last time was 6.
7-6 or
no 6.
6-.
It was late June. Late June, early July. Right now.
It's been a minute.
It was I think it was actually July 1st or 2nd.
Yeah.
Was
so
the last one.
We're not very good at being on schedule. We had some producer issues. The computer was giving us fits, but we're back. Hopefully you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you don't get to see our handsome faces. But if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, Google, welcome in. We're excited to have you. Episode 13. Are you superstitious, Will?
No, just a little stitches.
Yes. There it is,
Got
man.
it. That's it.
Michael Scott in the house.
Of course, Noah doesn't know anything about The Office.
Yeah, no,
neither would Andy Yamashiro.
That's okay.
We don't have cool. Yeah.
I do, and that's all right. No, but for reals, do you have any superstitions as a coach, or did you have any as a player?
No.
Noah?
I did not. I just kind of did my thing.
They talk about volleyball players being superstitious, but I don't know many that are. I mean, I know my boys don't cut their hair during the season. They think that's bad luck.
Okay.
But that Dax kind of started that. He cut his hair one season, and then
I still don't think he has cut his hair. Have you seen him lately?
Well, he needs a haircut for sure. Speaking of haircut, I need one too. I'm not gonna lie, mine's getting long. I don't know, don't wash your socks, don't wash your knee pads. Who knows? I
never really washed my knee pads, but that wasn't a superstition.
That was just a lazy.
That was just kind of like my mom was like, all right, they stink. Go throw them in the pool or something.
There's a lot of people that have to wear like the same socks. They have to tape their fingers in a certain order. Mm-hmm. They have to eat something, or they have to drink something.
I guess I've never been really a superstitious person.
I think it's just a lot to think about. I have other things to think about than
more going on.
My routine to get ready for something like that.
I hear you. I kind of feel like I have lucky shoes, and then I'll wear a pair of shoes that I think are lucky and we'll lose. I'm like, well, there goes those.
Goodwill next day.
Was the gray socks you, or is that somebody else?
No, not me.
That's somebody else. Okay, somebody I was talking to said they always got to wear gray socks on big game.
Oh, wow.
Don't know why.
No, I don't.
Oh, God, no.
Very weird.
All right.
It's Noah time.
It is Noah time. We do not have an answer to last episode's trivia question because there was not last episode trivia question. We were in.
Because Noah wasn't there, so it wouldn't be a good
we're in
trivia.
Vegas for Boys Nationals, and he wasn't there, so we decided not to steal his thunder. So it's thunder time, Noah. What do you got for us this week? What is our new trivia question?
Well, I didn't get to do that.
There it is. Boom, my bad. Noah's trivia of the week.
The question this week is, what was the first year that the libero position was introduced to NCAA women's volleyball?
2007.
It's way too late, bud.
In high school, it did not. It got introduced in Arizona. It got introduced in about 04, 05. Maybe a little earlier than that. Actually, I lie. The libero was there around before that. They could serve in about 04 was the first year that I think the libero in Arizona could serve.
I think it's mid 90s for the NCAA.
I know the answer, so I'm not.
You always know the answer.
Yeah,
it's Noah's trivia of the week. Yeah.
I would say, I would probably agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think about high school.
I'm gonna pick a date, or not date, like May 12th, 1995. I would say 95.
I'm trying to think about when I was in high school. Right, I graduated in 96, and I watched a lot of volleyball. But back then, my knowledge of volleyball was minimal.
Well, do you remember seeing a person in a different color jersey?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But listen,
how much
a teenage
volleyball?
A teenage boy at a volleyball match wasn't paying attention to the girl.
But you also were not watching
jersey.
NCAA. Did you go to a ASU game?
Well, no. I mean, I rarely watched NCAA women's volleyball.
You still don't.
Before 2000,
and you still don't.
16 maybe, but I watched some women's volleyball. Don't give me that bad rap. So yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm going 95. What are you going?
95. I mean, if this is The Price is Right, closest without going over, I'll go 96, and then I win, right?
Damn it.
Yeah, something like that. We'll find out next episode. Hopefully this next episode's not forever away and we don't take...
I think we're going to do a good job after this. I feel good vibes. You got a short day on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
I think we can make it work.
We're good. We're going to figure it out. So next episode, answer coming. Do we have any feedback, comments, or anything from past guests, Noah?
We do not.
Okay, because haven't been on YouTube for a couple of episodes.
It'd be cool if Spotify added like a comment section or something like that. You know?
Yeah. All right. So
maybe if they have anything, DM us on Instagram.
Send an email. Comments. I have a comment.
What's your comment?
We need to be more efficient with the Every time we turn it on, it seems to do something different.
It's tough to say we.
Are you throwing Noah under the bus right now?
Hey, all I'm saying is I turn this computer on every time and it works.
Yes.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
right? No, yep. I feel bad because I just sit here by the mic.
Macs are dumb. I will go out on a limb and say it.
Oh.
Macs are dumb.
We got comments coming on that. All right, let's get into the show. You ready? Topic. What is our topic of the show today, Will?
Accountability.
Accountability.
And why did we choose accountability?
What a buzzword, because it's the greatest ability.
Yeah, we were talking about what in the coaching world you get all these buzzwords: culture, accountability, etc. Yeah. Accountability is a good
buzzword. It was like
and we haven't talked about it.
It was the first one we threw out there. Like being accountable, having accountability as a coach, a player, a parent, right? Whatever it is, we're going to talk about a little bit of all of that today. I think accountability is probably one of the more important parts to being a great athlete.
Great athlete, great team, great person, etc.
Yeah. So let's map it out a little bit. I got a couple of quotes. I could not decide which quote I liked more.
Whatever quote you like more is the one you're going to say in the whatever, you know what I mean?
I don't know which one I like more is the problem. That's why
you're a basketball guy, so I think you need to do his.
Okay.
Yep.
So Doc Rivers once said, average players want to be left alone. Good players want to be coached. Great players want to be told the truth. How does that apply to accountability?
Oof. Well, I just like that because I think a lot of coaches like sugarcoating. So I like that. They
don't want to upset their players.
They don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to.
Well, because, I mean, on any team you coach, you're going to have a range of average to good to great, right?
Skill-wise, yeah. And like ability.
Sure.
Yeah.
So each kid's probably going to need something different. I love it because I think accountability is being able to hear the truth and accept it for being true. And then being willing to change.
Yeah, holding yourself responsible for your actions Yeah,
and I think that's probably the key here with what Doc Rivers is saying is accountable players are the great ones because the truth matters to them.
And it might hurt for a little bit, but then they kind of take a step back and like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I agree. I guess they don't even need to agree.
No, not necessarily, but I mean, I think if you're a coachable person, maybe you agree to a certain extent, but Doc Rivers is coaching men, very different than coaching teenagers. Sometimes you tell a teenager the truth and it's the end of the world.
It is the worst thing they've ever heard because they're so young.
You didn't play well today. Oh my gosh. Coach hates me forever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, you passed a 1.5. That's not good.
Statistically, you just didn't do your job. And the great ones will be like, you know what, coach, you're right.
What can I do to fix it?
Right.
What are some tools? Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. All right. Read the other one.
Bad teams, no one leads. Good teams, coaches lead. But elite teams, players lead. PJ Fleck. And who's PJ Fleck?
Minnesota Golden Gophers football coach.
Yeah. I didn't know who that was.
Young guy, real energetic. He's incredible.
I think I've seen one of his press conferences.
Yeah. He's very smart.
I like this a lot. I think a lot of my coaching is similar to that. I think if anything, I don't talk enough, and that's because I want my players to do all that talking.
Yeah.
Example, in timeouts, when I first started coaching, I would dominate them. Mm-hmm. And now I rarely say anything other than a big rock.
Right.
Because I think the players need to have ownership, accountability for what's going on out there. And then when they start to do that, the standard will always be higher than when I'm holding their hand. And that's a conversation I actually have with my kids. Because at the beginning of a season, they can get like, you don't care about us, or you don't
You're not coaching
You're
us.
not coaching us. And I'm like, no, guys, I coach you in practice. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm doing my coaching.
Right.
Your hair's doing a lot of fun stuff.
Was it doing some things? I adjusted the headphones.
That was a bold move.
We got. Well, they were uncomfortable. I got to get right.
That's why. It's because I think the teams that are thinking about their actions and holding each other accountable for their actions instead of a coach doing it, I think will always be better than a coach holding their hand.
I agree.
It's hard to do it though.
Yeah.
It's hard because you have to literally let them fail.
Sure.
And you have to sit back and you're like, oh, geez.
I can't believe they're saying that right now.
So then you have to at practice, hey, what should we say? What should we not say?
The first time every year with a new team, when I get in a huddle and I ask them, so what do you think?
You get these big eyes.
They're like, silence.
Why is the coach asking us what's going on?
What do you mean, coach? Like,
Yeah.
well, you guys are out there playing. You have a pretty good idea of what's going on.
I'm over here.
Yeah, tell me what you think. What's happening out there? Well, and this is the first answer every time because I think this is what I want to hear. Well,
Yeah.
we need to communicate better.
Oh, yeah.
Every time. And they're probably not wrong. But there are times when good communication still doesn't win games, right? Like, because
Yeah, you can. Well, I still think the best team, one of the best teams I've ever seen was Kalukoa. And this was maybe do you remember this team? Mm-hmm. So this is a team with like Larry Tualeta, Micah Ma, and Enriquez. Which Enriquez brother was it, Noah?
And he's throwing
Evan.
stuff out.
He went to Stanford. That Hawaiian team didn't say words. They didn't talk, and they were amazing.
Yeah.
So that was the one time, like, I brought one of my teams. I was like, hey, watch these guys. And, they all started being like, Coach, they don't talk. Hey, guys, they've been playing together since they were, like, 8. So it's a little different.
Yeah, right.
Can confirm it was Evan.
It was Evan. Okay, yeah, Stanford guy.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about accountability. I found this on the internet. Did just a little search just to kind of.
And at Noah, can we get that on this? What is the
graphic
picture?
It's a graphic.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
I can probably do something.
What if we just put it up right now?
Yeah.
Flash it on there.
For flashing it.
So it's a graphic that talks about the line of accountability, and you're either above the line or you're below the line. Obviously, you want to be above it.
You want to be above.
You want to be above it, right? So we want to be above it, and that's where you're holding yourself accountable. And there's 4 things that it stresses here that I found super interesting to be above the line. And I don't know if they're in any particular order. I think it's probably
I'm looking
reverse
at it.
of how I have it written on our show sheet. So see it, own it, solve it, do it.
You did. I think it is that order. I think
Probably that order, right? So first thing, in order to be accountable as a player, as a coach, as a person, okay, right? Like accountability happens in all aspects of our life, but obviously we're going to talk about it from a coach perspective towards kids. So if you're coaching and you're trying to get better at coaching and you want to help your kids be more accountable, this is one way to look at it. If you're a player listening,
this still applies to you.
This definitely applies to you because now you're going to know what approach maybe your coach might take. And if you're a parent sitting on the sideline, I think parents can be accountable, a lot more accountable while watching their kids play. Like you got to make sure you understand your kid's place within the team and the grand scheme of things. Not everybody's kid's D1, right?
Well, and if your kid makes a great play, good job. But don't always remember the great plays your kid makes. You just got
all they remember.
Yeah, and that's
Sorry,
the
moms and
rose-colored
dads.
glass.
Yeah.
I get it.
All right, so let's start with see it. Accountable players probably see it on their own more than anything. But if somebody points it out to you and you see a problem, the next step would then be to own it. How would you own it? I guess that's the big question of the day. How do you own those mistakes?
Well, you need to make sure that you're very comfortable in your own skin and your ego doesn't get in the way of whatever is being told to you. And that's very tricky. That's very, very hard to do because at times you don't want to be told things that you maybe actually do know.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when those do get told to you, it can be kind of hurt. But then over time, I think that's what athletes get really good at is they realize that this is going to make me better. So they don't take it personally.
Right.
And they take it more in that that's how I frame it to my kids is, guys, I don't hate you. I hate your volleyball kind of thing. Cause that's what our kids always say is Coach hates me. So I say professionally, this is what you need to do better. Professionally means like on the court, in the practice, all that. And then personally would be like who you are as a person.
Right.
And
Two separate things.
Two separate things. And that's hard. But once they understand, you got to like kind of, separate them. It's a lot better.
Yeah. For me, owning it can come in a couple of different ways, right? Like, a kid comes up to you and says, "Hey, coach, I'm going to be gone for whatever. My parents taking me out of town, I'm going to a wedding, whatever they're going to miss." Own it, right? Walk up to a coach with confidence and tell the coach, this is what's going on in my life.
What's usually the repercussion of missing?
Well, I mean, every team's a little bit different, right? Like,
what's the usual thing?
You might have to sit out the first part of a match or a whole match, whatever, if you miss practice. But like the accountable kids are the ones that understand, like the process. They understand how this all works, and then you own it, right? Like, so that would be one example of owning it. Like, coach, I know I'm going to be gone, and I understand the consequences, and I'm okay with whatever happens. And I think that's then moves us into the solve it issue, right? Like, so I absolutely love problem solving athletes.
Good, because we're coaches.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't want to problem solve for all of them all the time. And accountable athletes can look for those solutions on their own. Solving it is probably, for me, the last one's probably the biggest component of our line of accountability, but
putting it into action,
actually doing it, is probably the biggest part of that. But I mean, you got to have a solution. And I think all too often coaches are just giving solutions, as opposed to helping kids find solutions.
Teaching versus telling, or vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
Accountable kids are going to try to find those solutions on their own, and then they're going to ask questions and be okay with the answer. The kids who aren't accountable are going to just be the ones that want to be told, right? Like Doc Rivers says, the ones that, the good players just want to be coached. Well, that's just telling you how to solve the problem. I think if I look at what coaching is, it's telling kids how to solve the problem on their own.
Yeah. And then sometimes though, a kid will, and this is what I think is really cool, is when the athlete comes up to you and is like, "Hey, I've tried this, and this, and I still don't get it. Can you give me some more ideas?"
I love that.
Yeah. And that's they're trying.
Right.
And this is I've used all my resources. I need more.
Right.
You got it.
And
man.
they've done, and they've put it into practice.
Yeah.
That's how you stay above that accountability line, is you continue to improve and put it into practice. I mean, I'm looking at these boys on the wall here behind you, all these kids that I have coached, boys and girls, but mostly boys that I can see at the moment. But, and I think about each one of them, and I could probably give you a pretty good analysis of whether or not they were accountable. And I think the least accountable kids are the ones on this wall and in general that have come up to me at different times and said, "Hey, coach, what do I got to do to play more?" Mm-hmm. As a coach, worst question you're ever going to get.
Not a great question. And it's tough because that's what they think is the right question, but it's not.
You know what's evolved? You know what it's evolved into? Hey, how can I help the team?
Oh, that's how it's evolved. I haven't heard that one.
Have you not heard that one? Yeah, that's where it's gone, because I think enough people have become savvy to this whole, like, what do I got to do to play? Yeah. Well, you got to be better than the person out there. But that's a kid who's not holding themselves accountable, because I think if they really dug deep into this whole notion of accountability and understanding where they sit, they wouldn't ask that question, because they would know their role, that they're not where they need to be. They would know they need to improve more. They would see it. They would own it. Yeah, I'm not good enough to play right now. That's why that kid's playing instead of me.
Yeah.
Right. So that question would never even get asked. And then that kind of pushes back towards the parent accountability side, right? When your kid comes home and is like, "Hey, I'm not playing," and they're frustrated and they wonder why. Most parents, and I don't know, I'm sorry if I offend somebody who listens to our podcast, please come back and listen again. But most of these parents are going to try to, console and help and justify their kid. "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm so sorry, buddy. Like, I don't think you should be sitting the bench either. Your coach just likes that kid better, doesn't know enough.
Favorites.
Has favorites.
They got favorites, man.
All of a sudden, all that accountability that your kid just tried to work towards to get is out the window, and yours as a parent is gone.
Yeah.
Right? See that your kid needs improvement. Understand that they need to be coached to get better, and they need to own it.
Don't fall into the pity party.
Man, it's tough.
It's tough because it's as a parent, as a coach, it's really hard to see your kids fail. Mm-hmm. But that's when they get really good. If you frame it the right way.
Well, right.
If you don't frame it the right way and you do the pity party routine over and over again, then when they get to the real world, it's going to be brutal.
It's tough.
It's going to be brutal.
That real world slaps them in the face pretty quick.
Yes, it does.
All right, hey, let's go below the line.
Ooh.
Below the line is... there's a series of different things
Let's see if we did this one in order.
I don't know if there's an order. You think there's an order to this one, Will? I don't know that there's necessarily an order.
I don't think there is either. I think these are just traits, negative traits. Yeah.
Traits that will prevent you from, and we've already talked about some of these, right? Traits that will prevent you from being an accountable person.
Yeah.
The wait and see.
The wait and see.
Yeah.
How do we,
You're not actively engaged.
You're
in
hoping it just
changing
comes.
things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Confusion.
This is the one I like the most, probably.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the question that they. What do I need to do to play? That's the question there's
I feel like we need to
there.
start just saying it right back to them. What do you think you need to do to play? Just turn it on.
They'll be like, well,
what skills do you think you're really good at that are better than the kids in front of you?
Well, I mean, like I've had, I don't get it very often anymore because I tell the kids right up front, if you ask me that, you're sunk, right? I don't want to have that conversation. But I look at some of these kids who have asked me in the past that, and they will say like, I think I am better than so-and-so.
Yeah.
And they don't have, but
they don't have X, Y, and Z.
Well, why do you think that? Well, because I just do.
Because my ego.
Because my mom tells me I am.
There it is. Yep.
My best friend on the team tells me I am.
I love it. Mm-hmm. I love that.
This next one is classic. It's not my job, right? In volleyball, if you've been around long enough or you've coached or whatever, you've also received this question: was that my ball?
Let's just go for it first. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was yours and everybody else's ball who let that ball drop.
Yeah.
Was that my ball? And somebody said it once. I shouldn't quote people without knowing who it came from, but where did I hear this from? Gosh, I don't remember. I'd rather see 2 dead people than 1 dead ball. Meaning like, let's just dive for each, like go for it. Like if you crash into each other, the ball's up. I think it's a little violent.
It's extreme,
but it gets the point across, right?
It does.
Yeah. Easy to just, blow it off. It's not my fault. Well, the coach doesn't like me. Mm-hmm. It's not my fault. The setter's the best friend of the middle. I've had that one in the past.
Oh yeah. They just love setting me. Well, that's probably because you're a really good player. Like
I've had the reason why the setter doesn't set my child. And I've had lots of, religious affiliation. I've heard that. Friendships. They're just not friends. So he won't set him or she won't set him.
Yep.
All kinds of stuff.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
And that's a parent's perception usually. And it's honestly comical.
It's not my job. Right? Wasn't my fault. Next one, cover your tail.
Yep.
Always trying
That's not accepting it.
Mm-hmm. Finger pointing.
This is probably the biggest one that we see.
This one will absolutely sink any team.
Yeah.
The minute you start having fingers pointed at others, like you need to do better, and instead of I need to do better, the team's going to start to crumble.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think one of my players did this to another player, and it was fantastic how he did it. And it wasn't you need to do better. It was I know you can play better.
I like that one.
And it's true.
That's a good phrase.
This is one of these players that has really high ceiling, has high capabilities, and then it's like he always does like B work,
I love that.
And
phrase,
then after this player did did that, he had the best tournament. It was
Well, there you go.
So I was like, oh, you did that right. But that player that said it that way also came up to the coach and said, how do I ask this? Or how do I say this?
All right.
So we had a little bit of dialogue.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Good for him.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. And this is 15-year-old kids, or 15 or 16.
That's great.
Yeah. Ignore and deny is the next one.
Last one. Ignore and deny. Yep. I'm just going to ignore that any of this is happening, or deny that I need work, or...
Yeah. I'm going to act like my errors aren't there, and I'm only going to remember my kills or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. I mean, that the line of accountability, I love the visual of that. You know, where do you fall? And that takes a certain amount of accountability to really evaluate yourself. Where do you fall? And as a coach, I try to evaluate where I'm at with that stuff. Like, how am I communicating with my kids? Am I holding myself accountable? Did I do a good enough job?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, did we lose that game because I didn't prepare us well enough? I mean, lots of stuff like that goes through my mind. And I think most coaches do that. I don't know. I mean, obviously ego is part of our sport, our profession.
It's part of life. You can't be successful without an ego,
Right.
but you also need to make sure that it's an ego that is healthy for you and the people around you. Very tricky.
Healthy ego stuff.
It's almost an oxymoron at times when you
Right.
say it, healthy ego.
Right.
You know, it's really hard. But you're not going to find an elite level athlete that's performing super well that doesn't have an ego, or a coach for that matter. You just can't, because they have to feel larger than life. They have to.
I just heard Sean McVay the other day. So
Okay. Super
Los Angeles
yep.
Rams head football coach, Super Bowl champion. And he was talking about how their offense is terrible, and you know, we need to do better. And then he basically then said, but I need everybody to hear what I'm saying. I'm in this too. I need to be better.
Yeah.
I need to improve. That's somebody who's taking his ego and pushing it to the side, because he understands that if he's going to try to hold his players accountable, he's going to also have to do the same, right? We need to figure this thing out together.
Yeah. Monty Williams does that a lot too.
He appears to, He appears to make everybody a part of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love to see these teams that everybody feels like they're a part of what's happening, whether they're playing or not. And I think that's
those are the special groups.
the special groups. And I think those are also the special coaches who have the ability to
Make the 12th man feel important. That's
keep
so hard.
everybody engaged.
12th or 15th with the
However
last
many-
man.
right.
Yeah, it's hard.
You know, like, you're not going to play, but you matter.
Yeah.
Because they do. Otherwise, why would you have put them on the team? If they don't
Exactly.
matter, what are you keeping that kid for?
We would just have 8 to 10 kids on a team or whatever it is. Yeah.
Go to battle with 8 and hope no one gets hurt, right?
We've done that before.
Well, yeah.
We were this close.
It's sticky.
Dang it, spike and serve.
Yeah, we had the right 8 at
We did.
nationals
Yes, we did.
with that team for sure. But yeah, it's tough.
This next one, are there athletes that stick out?
I probably should have thought of a good answer so we don't sit here with silence.
I have one that,
okay,
like,
go for
no
it.
matter
Maybe I'll think
what,
of somebody.
no matter what you gave feedback, no matter what you would say to her, she is accepting, she understands, and it's going to be Anna Morse. Like, that girl I felt like she totally understood accountability and was as a player, was very good at owning up to what she was good at and what she wasn't. She comes to mind. Presley Anderson does too.
Yeah,
those two girls.
So I never coached Presley, but I did coach
Neither
Anna.
did I.
Anna, the cool part about Anna, and you're not wrong, but the best part about Anna was when I first started coaching that team, and it was a gnarly volleyball team. I had to work pretty hard to win some of those girls over that first season, but not her. The minute, and I don't think she didn't care.
That's how she was raised, man.
She
was raised that way.
She did not care where I came from. She didn't care what my background was.
You were coach.
She, this is our guy, and so I'm going to listen. Mm-hmm. And she was great, and I don't disagree. I'm trying to think of some of my Dallin and Canyon Smith.
They were.
I just kind of peeked over here and saw those two boys. Absolutely, they were good. They were always positive, always yes sir, no sir stuff. I got to the point with them where I almost didn't even need to coach them, because they were going to give us everything every time. And I never doubted it. But at any point I was like, hey, I'm going to need you to do this. Okay. And they just wanted to keep getting better.
Do you think the best athletes are ones that after a match or whatever will come up to you and be vulnerable about their play and being accountable for their play? Mainly when they don't play well, like the athletes,
the best athletes you're saying that
like maybe not the best, but like the ones that you're like, yeah, you understand it. Those are the ones I really enjoy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we enjoy those ones the most.
The ones that understand when they don't play well. I do not enjoy the athletes that don't know when they don't play well, or they go back to this one. They ignore, deny.
Right.
I don't enjoy those athletes.
They sulk. It's not my fault.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Those. I don't think anybody enjoys those athletes. Those are the ones that are, like those are the ones that are the least accountable for sure.
Yeah. And I think accountability is so interlinked with hypocrite. I'm hearing some buzz action.
Yeah, we got buzzing going on in the ear.
Producer, produce.
I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's gone now, I guess.
That was weird.
No, I would say accountability is very intertwined with being a hypocrite.
Uh-huh.
Can you
still hear that?
A little bit.
I know, it's weird.
I don't know what's going on.
Sorry, everybody that's watching or listening. We
hopefully you don't hear it, and it's just that we hear it.
It's just us.
I'm not even hearing it. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay, it's cool. Maybe it's just me and Will.
Special us.
All right. Sorry, I interrupted you, Will. Where are you at with that? What are you saying?
No, you're good.
Okay. Let's see. What else? This is probably the hardest question on here. Is how do we as coaches develop or create accountability? What do you think? Noah, chime in anytime, buddy, because this is where this is going to get sticky for me anyway. I don't know I don't know. Maybe it's hard to create. I don't know what to do with my hand all of a sudden. Maybe it's hard to create.
I think every culture for every group is going to be very unique. But the idea of accountability is going to be the same. And what I mean by that is some groups are going to be very, very aggressive with how they talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Very. Mm-hmm. To the point where it's like, whoa, that might be a little too much. And then other groups are going to hold each other accountable in a very respectful way. And I think that's your range, like your range of like super aggressive and then super healthy.
Are you just allowing the team to develop that on their own?
Well, I think you then need to make sure that your group is okay with that. If your group is okay with that kind of conversation and that berating or aggressive tone, and they're all doing it, then that's just the culture that they have. Do I know if it's right or wrong? I don't know. But if it's what they're all doing and it's what they're all bought into, well, then we're good, because that's exactly what culture is. Versus, which isn't bad.
How do you create that?
I think that's just your personalities. I don't think you can control personalities, dude.
I know, but I think I think you certainly can develop that culture. I mean, the personalities can fit within the culture, right? Like,
I think the personalities create the culture.
Bill Belichick doesn't get along with everybody, and if you're not one of his type of guys, you're not going to play for the New England Patriots.
Same thing with like a Spur.
Okay, so Greg Popovich, same idea, right? But so they've created this culture. They're not they're going out and looking for people that fit the personality, and it's hit or miss. Like, oh well, this guy didn't get it, and I have longevity there, right? We got 1 year sometimes with these kids.
Yeah.
Right. So how is it that we develop or create the accountability within our own season, regardless of how it's delivered? How do you create that?
I think they need to know what accountability actually means, in the sense of, I love when, a kid thinks they're holding someone else accountable. Like, hey, we need to serve in. Obviously, guys, we need to serve in. We play the game of volleyball. What is it that you can do to actually help them? Like, I think that is something that I think about. I think a lot of time kids say things, or athletes say things, especially the athletes we coach, because they're younger and maybe a little more immature, and they say things and you're like, yeah, no duh, dude. Like,
well, coaches say that stuff.
Correct. We got to serve the ball in. Yes, we do.
Play better.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a hard one, because it's so unique. Mm-hmm. It's so I think it depends on personalities. It depends on leadership, but they need to make sure that accountability is making everyone around them better. And it's not the finger pointing. Accountability is not finger pointing. And I'll remember this podcast I listened to with John Spurra on it. And he said, accountability is not telling someone they suck or super negative. It's the complete opposite. It's holding them to a higher standard. Kind of like the story that I said earlier.
Right.
That's what I think accountability is. But once again, though, accountability, it's to the eye of the eye of the beholder. Noah,
you got any thoughts on how to develop or create accountability? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot over there. I mean, your brain's got to be going a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I think one big thing is like, not necessarily, it doesn't have to do a whole lot with accountability, but there has to be like a common goal that everybody's striving for.
Yeah.
Because like, if you don't have a goal in mind, what are you holding yourself accountable to?
I like that.
Yeah, the standards of what you're trying to do.
There has to be a goal. There has to be an end destination. And I know it's like, hey, focus on the process. Don't focus on the outcome. But you can't really have a process without an outcome in mind.
Without somewhere where you want to go. No, that's huge. That's probably the best contribution Noah's ever had to our show.
He was ready.
That was money. I love that. No, I mean, you have to have where you're going. You have to have an end goal, right? So like you mentioned, we have to serve in. Well, if your team has a goal of serving 85% in, and we're serving 75% in,
you can hold them accountable and say this is not good enough.
We're not good enough. I think the next step of accountability as a coach is towards your players is then giving them, either they come up with it on their own or not, right? Depending on your level of teaching and what you feel comfortable in, their level of understanding and all that. I think at that point you then have to come up with things, specific things, like Noah mentioned, specific process things that then to fix it. Because you can't just be like, well, guys, we're serving at 75% clip. We wanted 85. We're not good enough. Be accountable, right?
Yeah.
I think then you have to say, okay, so how are we going to hold ourselves to a higher standard, right? How are we going to be accountable to get to 85? Well, when we get service reps in practice, we need to be focused. Okay, so then and again, these are going to have to be conversations you have with your teams. I don't know that enough coaches have these conversations on a frequent enough basis. Maybe they do, and I'm delusional because I need to have more of them. We need to be more focused when we get service touches in practice. So whatever those service touches look like, let's say I'm going to have 10 minutes today where we're just serving, practicing, just closed practice, like footwork, hand placement, whatever, toss, all that stuff. Well, if you're going to need to be more focused, then if I look over and you're not being focused on that servicing, I need to then be able to say to you, hey, bud, let's focus on this next serve as a teammate.
And then how do you need to act as a teammate?
So I'm holding you accountable, and then the teammate's accountability is being okay that somebody else said something to you. You're receptive to that refocus of accountability. And what do
most athletes do when someone holds them accountable?
Bro, leave me alone.
Yeah.
You're right. Like they fall below the line.
And then when that happens,
deny. I'm focused.
Yeah.
No, you focus better. Point finger. Yeah. Like you can see how those traits come into play when kids try to hold each other accountable to whatever standard you put, right? Like that's the part I think
and that's why leaders are hated too.
Because some of them.
Yeah. Like there is no one during playing with Kobe that was like, I really enjoy this guy. Like he's fantastic.
Dude, Kobe's a whole other topic for another day, right?
It's because he was holding his teammates to the highest standard, AKA his standard,
right?
Which no one was ever going to meet.
Right.
And they had to just follow because they knew it was Kobe. And that's what's really hard is when you're teaching the kids how to hold each other accountable. It's not easy.
And I think to the great teams that we've had, if you're going to hold somebody accountable as a teammate, you have to be willing to have it be in reverse, and then you also have to be constantly focused. Right, you can't take plays off.
That's the hypocritical part of things that I think about.
God, these headphones are driving me crazy. My hair, I need to cut my hair.
I think it's your hair.
This is a sign.
Yep.
This is a sign. Either wear a hat or cut it, right?
Yeah. I think you should just cut your hair, cut your beard, look totally different on tryout day.
Oh, wow. People are like, whoa, who is this guy? Yeah, this is that. I think that's going to be how we create more accountability. Is you have to, and
well, it has to be constant.
Thank goodness Noah focused us a little bit over there, right? You have to have a goal, and then you have to have constant conversations about what accountability and specific processes is needed to get there. And I talk to my teams a lot about being a good teammate, and that's the accountability part. Like, I can have somebody say, I need you to focus on this point right here. I need you to be better right here, and being okay with that. And that's when you see those great teams really come together. And then, the last question we wrote down here on our show sheet is, does it really turn into wins and success? I think absolutely it does.
Not always, truthfully, because sometimes the other team is better, but it's about how you do it. I think that's the thing.
So wins and success, we've had this conversation. Two different things.
Wins is the actual result. Success is kind of how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can have the greatest culture, the greatest everything, and the other team can just be better than you. And that actually really sucks. That really sucks. Like, you did everything
well, that's part
right.
of sports.
It is part of sports. But I think it's when your team understands that accountability only makes the standards higher. That's when cool things really start to happen, but they need to make sure they do it right. And that's so hard because they're going to mess up along the way, and you need to be okay with them messing up, and then you need to be okay with them saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. But you can't be afraid to talk to them about it and how to do it better. And that goes for coaches as well. Maybe sometimes I hold a kid accountable and it did not work. Right?
Yeah,
it did not work.
It backfired.
All right, I need to have a conversation with that kid afterwards to make sure that he knows I was coming from the right place. But now I need to make sure then that next time that I do it, I phrase it in a different way. I do it a different way. Or maybe after that conversation, he and I are on the same page.
Right.
So we're good, but got to have the conversation. You don't want to do the wait and see thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how it goes both ways there for sure.
Yeah. And then parents, you got anything for parents? I love the parent stuff.
Yeah. Well, listen, moms and dads, the biggest advice I can give you is to just be honest with yourself and with your kid. It's so easy to just fall below the accountability line as a parent, because you want your kid to feel good.
Yep.
I'm trying to think back with my 3 kids, and if I've ever fallen below the line of accountability, and I'm sure I have at times. Fortunate for them and me, I've been able to shield them a little bit from that as their coach, and I can certainly give them the tools to combat that. And I think I'm harder on them than I am on any of my other players, but moms and dads, like, your friends are going to lie to you. Mm-hmm. Like the people on the team that you think you trust aren't going to tell you the truth. They won't hold you accountable or themselves or anybody else, because everybody just wants their kid to be okay,
to be the star, to be happy,
to play, all of that stuff.
Life, you're not constantly happy. Athletics, you're not constantly happy.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't want parents to misunderstand that. Like, Coach Tolman doesn't want my kid to be happy. No, that's not true. We want all of our kids to be happy.
But be ready.
But you're going to have moments where it's really, really hard. And
absolutely.
I'd like to go back, when I first started my athletic journey back in the 90s, when I was 5'7", maybe 8, 108 pounds or whatever it was. I'd like to go back into those conversations that I had with my mom or my dad in the car ride home.
Ride home.
After practice, after games, That's
a big deal. That car ride home is so important because it's right after the event. It's right after success. It's right after failure. Right. It's right after maybe it was neutral. Like, that is such an important car ride.
And I don't remember much about what they said. I mean, I'm sure that there were some good lessons learned, and I don't think my parents were delusional about my abilities by any means. I just am curious kind of how they shaped me with some of the stuff they said. Like car rides with Garrick. I mean, my middle child, I don't know if you can see him on the screen or not. He's, in college now. Like, he and I have had car rides home where it's silent.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
And I get in the car with him and say, hey, bud, are we talking about this one or not? And he'll be like, I'm not ready.
There you go.
Silent. But I've The oldest.
You forced him. You're right.
My right, your left.
Yep.
I didn't force him. He just didn't want a quiet car.
Okay.
Dax never, it was coming out. And Noah coaches Dax now. He probably nod his head over there and be like, yep, sounds about right. It's coming out no matter what. Like this is how I feel, and I'm going to make sure everybody knows about it. And I'm a lot that way. So Dax and I kind of clashed a little bit with that. So it's interesting is, parenting, you got to learn how to navigate that and help your kids to figure out
what works for them,
and then to hold them accountable. It's not always the coach's fault.
No.
It's not always. The coach isn't always, because this is the one thing I do know about coaching, and maybe there's coaches out there that don't fall under this category.
Can't wait to hear what you're going to say here.
There's no coach likes to lose.
Really?
I know parents think it. Oh, he doesn't care about winning. Well, I mean, listen, like winning might not be number one all the time because we need to develop kids and things like that. Whatever, but we could certainly have a whole nother topic for another day on that. But like. No coach shows up like, yeah, let's go 0 whatever today.
Yeah. This is fun.
We're going to play 4 matches today and I don't want to win any of them.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to roll whatever lineup out there and good frickin' luck, boys or girls or whatever. There's not a coach in America who likes to lose.
Yeah.
Right. But there's certain parts of our job that require us to play other players. Like if I roll the same 6 out there, it's not going to do us any good. What if a kid hurts himself?
Yeah, we got to be ready.
And all of a sudden I got a kid who's never played, has no idea what he's doing. I'm going to throw him in there.
Yeah.
And people just don't understand that. This isn't what we do as prep youth coaches. This is not the NBA. This is not the Olympics. This is not professional sports. So mom and dad, stop watching even collegiate sports. Stop watching the major stuff happening on TV. When you see the same we're gonna watch the Suns tonight. They roll out the same rotation every night.
Yeah, unless injury. Yeah,
same 10-ish guys play every night, right? And there's 4 or 5 or whatever on the bench that don't see the court. Stop watching that, because if we were to do that and try to win every game, we would have kids who would have
kids who hate the sport,
and they would never develop. They would never have a chance. And me personally, I was one of those kids who developed through the years. I was a late bloomer. And so if somebody had given up, and coaches gave up on me for sure. If I hadn't kept at it, who knows, right? I might not have ever had that opportunity. We can't give up on these kids by just saying, oh, good luck, buddy, you're down on the end. Mm-hmm. You got to find a role for them. And that's the accountability part for parents. You got to understand that this is the process. But coaches want to win, man. Like, hello, you play to win the game, right?
Said that
right, Herm? So anyway, I love this conversation. I think it's one that we should have more often with not only our athletes, but other coaches, parents, that kind of thing. Don't forget to hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable first and then others, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening to Pin to Pin, the Volleyball Podcast. You're going to follow us on social media at Pin to Pin, YouTube. Instagram is Pin, the number 2, Pin.
Oh, that's right, huh?
Yep,
okay.
On Instagram. And then wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Google, Apple, we're all on all those. So thanks for hanging in there with us. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
We love your comments.
Absolutely. They help drive our show for sure. And we will see you next time.
Peace.